When responding to high-level prompts, students often fall into a pitfall of summary. As I push my students to explain further, the typical response is just a rephrased version of what has already been said, but your teachers aren't looking for how many different ways you can say the same thing. They're looking for greater depth. So take a look at this video that illustrates vividly what it's like to read an explanation that is only summary or rephrasing.
And this is for a specialty item. It's available for one day only. I'm sure you can kind of run over at high speeds to your local Krispy Kreme now and still get it. But for one day only, Krispy Kreme has these special green donuts for St. Patrick's Day. And what makes these so special isn't that they're any sort of different flavor. It's not that they have any sort of filling. They're green in color. Yeah, the green donuts. They are. They're green. They're green in color. And interestingly enough, let's move this. There they are. You can see a set of six donuts. 6 green donuts. And there's the horizontal view of St. Patrick's Day donuts. And there's the vertical view to my left of St. Patrick's Day donuts. And, well, that's what they look like. You can see they look as the standard glazed donuts, except these are green in color. There is the view of green donut. There's the bottom view of green donut. And otherwise, I'm just gonna eat it now. Let you know what it tastes like. So it's green, but it doesn't taste any different than a standard glazed donut, except that it's green for St. Patrick's Day. Okay.
To combat this, you should understand the different ways you can comment on a text and what each purpose is. Let's define the 9 different types of writing commentary and look at when we might use each one. Personal reaction. A personal reaction is a physiological response to a work. Let's say you're reading Stephen King's The Shining and you feel sick reading about Danny seeing the hedges come to life. That twisty feeling you get in your stomach is a personal reaction. It's a physical feeling that you can't control that's brought on by a text. You might use the adjective gut-wrenching to describe this moment. Personal reactions can be found in op-eds, personal writing such as journaling, and they can occasionally be thrown into persuasive essays if you want to emphasize a particular mood. Because personal reactions are so diverse between different people, they aren't really appropriate for formal argument essays. Emotions. Similar to personal reaction, an emotion is a mental feeling that is elicited by a text. It's sudden, isn't controllable, and it's subjective to each individual. For those reasons, it's not appropriate for a formal argument essay. Emotions do become very important in other types of writing, though, like memoirs, narrative writing, and especially when you're dealing with the motivation of a character or their past experiences. Opinions. An opinion is an individual's own personal thoughts or perceptions of a text or a topic. An argument is essentially an opinion, but that distinguishing factor is that an argument is based in evidence, while an opinion does not necessarily require any thought or attempt at working toward objective reality. Opinions can be limited by a lack of knowledge or experience, so they must be examined heavily and compared to text before they can be presented as a valid argument. You may think that Lenny from Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men can be smart, and that's your opinion, but your opinion isn't a valid argument until you have text evidence to back it up, instead of only basing your opinion on an immediate reaction or an emotion that is likely they're then based in your own experiences. And just because it happens to you does not mean it has objective merit. Explication. Explication is a fancy word for the dreaded summary, rephrasing what is already present. Summary is essential for comprehension of text, but it doesn't offer us anything besides what we already know. Summary is most useful in formal writing when introducing a quote, context, or a specific moment that you're later going to dissect. As a general rule, you should avoid summary in any higher level writing when you're trying to make those connections and actually analyze. Inference. An inference is looking at different explicit moments in the text and putting them together to figure out what is implicitly true. An inference is never directly stated, but it's still applicable because we can tell from other things that were directly stated that it is true. So for example, if a woman walks into a room and the bottom of her jeans are soaked and her hair is dripping wet, we can infer that it's raining outside. Sometimes inferences feel uncomfortable to make because you are creating more context for your audience. You have to take a leap and say something that hasn't been said before. However, the more evidence you have to make an inference, the more reasonable your inference is. Analysis. Analysis is essentially examining parts of a whole. If you took apart a bicycle and analyzed its parts, you would see how the chains connected to the wheels, how the pedals' function was to turn the chains, and how the wheels hooked into the frame, how the gears applied greater or less friction. The same applies to a text. To analyze, you look at how words, structure, inferences, and other components are related, how they motivate each other, and what makes them function in tandem. Making inferences is a part of analyzing, and you have to look at the different parts that connect. Analysis provides depth for formal writings and can be applied to pretty much any subject. Insight. Insight becomes more complicated as it deals with the application of analysis. Insight is giving your audience a look into the inner nature of the work. How does it function? One of the most obvious markers of insight is speaking conditionally. How would a character or a situation be under different circumstances? Insight can be a unique way of analyzing a work if you can accurately track patterns and connections to reveal its inner nature and hypothesize based off of that. Synthesis. Synthesis is based in the creation of something original. But first, different components have to come together. The argument that is being created will generally come from the synthesis or combination of many different sources. A lot of times these will also be in many different mediums regarding the same topic. Synthesis is also a time when you generally see different time periods being brought together to emphasize the universality of something. Critique. A critique has some similar qualities to an opinion. It is a judgment. However, a critique is a valuation based on criteria and objective worth or merit. Someone could hold the opinion that 50 Shades of Grey is a good book. However, based on a criteria of complex syntax, high-level diction, and insightful thematic material, 50 Shades of Grey holds incredibly little objective merit. Critiques are often found in reviews or ratings. Be cautious of who is giving a critique, though. It's important to determine if there may be an underlying reason why someone would evaluate specific content as good or bad. Think about what you are doing when you explain your argument, not just about writing more to fill the length requirement. For more specific information on each of the commentaries we have briefly covered, click on the links in the description box below.